All right, we're recording. Hello and welcome to Tina and Karen Do the Tube. I am Karen. Tina is not with us for one more evening. Hopefully, we will have a podcast for tomorrow. But I thought I'd put out some content in the meantime. And what I wanted to talk about today is child free. So, for those who do not know, there is an online community of people who share their experiences, share their opinions. Basically, it is what it sounds like. It's people who vow never to have kids. They're not celibate, but they are no reproduction, anti-reproduction to a certain point. Maybe, I don't know. So we're going to be talking to. This is a video from The Guardian. Which sometimes puts out good content. Being child-free by choice, 5 women on why they decided not to have kids. Now, before we even get into the video, I just want to say, like, anyone's individual choice as to whether they should have kids or not is totally on them. Who am I to judge whether someone is right or wrong? Because they know their own individual capabilities as a parent, perhaps, or their own rationale. But I'm just curious to see what these women have to say is what their real reason to be child-free is, because I think that having children, being in a family, is one of the best parts of life. It's not an easy part of life, for sure, but anything worth doing doesn't come easy. So, yes, having kids is a lot of work. Perhaps these women are more focused on themselves and their careers. Perhaps these women are concerned about the environment, which that one's dumb. Perhaps a lot of reasons, but we're going to find out. I'm going to listen to what they have to say and respond to it as we go. So, here we go.
I love to play with children. I think children are brilliant. I think they have so much to teach adults. So I appreciate them for that. I just won't be having my own.
She's enjoying it being child-free.
The world perceives child-free women in the most negative light possible.
I think it's not a need for women.
Caitlin, 22. Here's my theory. Caitlin doesn't know what she's... Okay, 36, you definitely know what you're in for. That woman, Julia, she definitely decided not to have kids. Because now she's at the tail end of her fertility, so she lived her principles. My theory is that maybe if some of these women are younger, maybe in their early 20s, I remember a lot of women who were in their early 20s who changed their mind by their late 20s. Like, I'll never have kids, I don't want kids. 22. Then by 26, 27, biological clock, oh shoot, I want kids. So, I'll be happy to hear Caitlin's reasoning, but just with a side note that I don't know if it's 100% set in stone for her.
Anymore. We don't need to have children. We find that our own happiness is more important. Our own mental health is more important.
We have been called selfish. We've been called narcissists, which is kind of strange.
I do have a coworker
Another young one.
who recently had a baby. All of my other coworkers were like ogling over him and making silly faces, and I'm just like typing away on my computer.
So all of your friends are enjoying the miracle of life, and you're just working. Yeah, that's a life well lived.
When it comes to when I knew that I didn't want to have children, it's hard to say only because I don't remember ever feeling like I did. I don't know what the feeling is like to want to
Alta Gracia, that's an interesting name.
have children. You know, when I am in groups and there are persons talking about wanting children, I like don't know how to respond.
In middle
You don't know how to respond to a group of people when they say they want to have children. Just say, I don't want to have children. And they'll say, oh, really? Why is that? Give your reason. So many people are afraid just to be honest. I find a lot of people have to hide their true opinions. I am honest with everything I say. I hope to be honest, at least. If I die and everyone, I don't know. Actually, let's not start with death. I don't understand what I gain from lying to people. I mean, that's not 100% true because I can see lying for self-interest because let's say you have the minority opinion and the majority opinion hates the minority opinion. It could prevent you from advancing your career or making good social networking opportunities. But ultimately, like, I think we should all live principled lives. If people are going to judge you for that, then that's their failing. I think that ultimately, it's just, I don't know. If this woman basically is child free and she's in a group of people who say like, "Hey, why don't you want?" I know. Okay, so I will say to her point of view, probably it can be exhausting when you are the minority opinion. As someone who has a lot of minority opinions, nobody agrees with me on almost anything. I believe I don't care. It can be exhausting when you feel like you are constantly in defense. You're constantly trying to explain yourself. When you don't, and there's a general rule that when you're explaining, you're losing. You just sort of redirect. You can ask questions to them. If you feel like you don't want to explain yourself, ask them questions. Why do you want to have kids? Yada, 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 yada. Okay, well, I don't have that feeling. Okay.
School, and one of my friends
about wanting children. I like don't know how to respond.
in middle school, and one
By the way, this is all water. No, nothing alcoholic in there. I promise.
of my friends, she said she never had the desire to have kids, and
Middle
she said
school.
that, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was an option.
Wait, did she say in middle school?
How to respond.
In middle school, and one of my friends, she said she never had the desire to have kids, and she said that, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was an option.
I think it's great that this 25-year-old is reflecting on her middle school friends and how they were so wise for their age. Give me a fucking break. Kids don't know anything, which is why we should have them and teach them.
And when she said that, I was like, I don't know if I want to have kids either.
Yeah, because you're in middle school. What are you, 12, 13 years old? What the fuck are we talking about? Like,
What really sealed the deal for me was my time as a teacher and my time as a nanny.
okay. Oh, okay. So, this is, okay, I'm interested in hearing what this girl has to say. She's a teacher and a nanny. Teacher and a nanny obviously doesn't hate children. So, but personally does not want children for herself. So, this will be an interesting interview.
I remember feeling two different ways about my students. One was that I wanted to adopt them all and keep them and take care of them and love them and
Nice.
nurture them.
Oh.
And then the other part of me was like, oh my gosh, this is all day, every day. And that's when the first seeds of maybe this isn't for me started to spring up.
I don't actually disagree with any of that. That's a fair opinion. If you want to live your life for you, you better not have kids. I consider that a less meaningful life, living your life for yourself. But I mean, there's certain you'll be able to have a more pleasurable life. I feel you might when you're 60 or 70 reflect on your life and say, I had a good life. Well, they might even, I don't know, a happy life, but not a meaningful life because you left no impact on the world. No, maybe not no. Okay. But there is no greater impact you could have on life than actually creating one and raising it and developing a life. So,
I knew for sure that having kids was not what I wanted to do because of my gut instinctive reaction, which was kind of like illness, kind of like a tunnel that just shot out in front of me and looked very, very dark.
okay. I can't tell anyone who basically, I couldn't say to anyone who thought they weren't fit for parenthood that you should be a parent. I can't convince anyone of that. It's you got to feel it from within. So the good thing is I haven't heard any environmental issues yet, which is a good sign at least.
I find it very interesting that a lot of the people who do give me pushback on not wanting to have kids are women. If you are a woman and you don't understand why somebody else doesn't want to have kids, learn about it, ask about it. Don't
Yeah, agreed.
immediately like shut them down or think that they're heartless. I don't think that I'm a heartless person.
Agreed.
Hands down, responses from women are way worse.
Yeah, okay. So that's just because in general, like, women hold women in check and men hold men in check. Men aren't really looking to dictate to women how you should be a woman. Because how the fuck would a man know how to be a woman? But men keep men in check and women keep women in check. So a woman who drifts too far away from the traditional feminine role will get more pushback from women than men. I know there's this idea that there's these roaming gangs of misogynists who want to put women in the kitchen. I've never met one. The most misogynistic man I ever met only does so as a joke. In truth, he doesn't. He just wants people to be fully independent and individual and be able to be self-reliant. And he'll just make jokes, which I don't see the problem with that really. But however, he is critical more of men than he is of women, and I think that's just the case. Each individual gender, they sort of keep the gender roles consistent. They keep it. Women continue the gender role of women, and men work to try to keep the gender role of man. Both solid. No one's looking towards the other. Well, some people are looking towards the other, but most people don't take those people seriously. Men are trying to keep men in check. Women are trying to keep women in check. That's just the way it is, sort of.
With men, it's more like a curiosity, like oh, how did you come to this decision? Women see it as an invitation to convince me otherwise.
Right.
It's, oh, not right now, but you want some in the future. What are
Well, she's 36, so I don't know when she had those conversations.
you gonna do when you're old and you're alone? Whatever I want. That's
That is true. But once again, we talked about maybe a pleasurable life, but not such a meaningful life.
what I'll do.
Regret.
I don't know if I don't know how she'll feel in 20 years. I think she'll be a little sad, but she'll have money. She'll probably have a lot to do. I don't know. I mean, like, the way I've always been. My mindset has always been driven by family. The need to want to be a father, to raise a young one, teach them the world, and to instill good morals and to nurture them to make sure that they're safe. And it's always been in me. I knew I wanted to be a father before I wanted to be a husband even, so it is just something I think innate to some people. But I'm curious how much of this is culturally influenced, but I'll never know for sure.
Regret is another threat also. You'll regret it when you get older. The thing
She's
about
45.
regret is you don't regret not doing what you don't want to do.
You never regret.
My parents know I don't want kids. They've known.
You never regret not doing what you don't want to do. On the surface, I have no objection to that statement.
Pretty much my whole life, I've kind of
This one's the 22-year-old. I'm really curious about what she has to say. This one's really interesting.
prepped them already, like, don't ask because you know the answer.
In terms of pressure
No, go back to her. She's 22. I want to know what her reasoning is.
from my family,
Jesus.
I don't get it quite so much from my parents, but I do get it from my grandmother. Pressure to marry somebody Jewish so that I could raise Jewish kids. I understand that she's like where she's coming from, and like I know she just wants the best for me, but at the end of the day, I always end the conversation saying, it's my decision, it's my life.
I identify as Afro
Damn right. I agree with that.
Latina. My father is from the Dominican Republic. He has African roots. My mother is from Puerto Rico. So when I think about, if I were raising a child in this world, a Black child in this world, you can't control how other people perceive that.
My mother
So race has a factor into why she won't have kids? Damn, that's terrible. I'm in a multiracial relationship, marriage. Race has just never come up as a factor. Maybe because I'm white, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm amazed by people who think that much about race. I just am.
mother was bent on me having kids. Oh, they would be so perfect. But I've spoken to them And I've started saying, I'm pushing 40 and my time is up. And I've been saying that since I was 35. I'm now 36. But it seems to work.
My stepmother we were fighting and she said, you'll see what this is like when you have kids. And I said, I'm never having kids. And she said, yes, you will. You don't know what you want. You'll change your mind. You'll see. You know, what doesn't occur to people is that a 5-year-old could walk up to a grown-up and say, I can't wait to be a mommy when I grow up. And they will never say you'll change your mind. But if a little 5-year-old girl comes up and says, I don't want kids, she's loony. Or
Well, the reason why they say that that kid will change his mind is because a lot of people believe that they don't want kids. A lot of people believe they want to live a life for themselves. And then, like, as they get older, I think women do have a nurturing sense. That's why look, she's got a dog. She's got a dog. She needs to nurture. Those are fur babies, as you've heard the term. But, like, there's a nurturing need. Now, if you wanted to just adopt pets, that's perfectly fine. Got no problem with that. But the reason why they say that to maybe kids, like to say, "Oh, I don't want kids," is because you're young, dumb, and I was about to say something else, but you don't know enough about the world, and you also don't even know enough about yourself. No one, I would say, anyone under the age of 25 is still in the growing part of their, the developing part. I look at 21-year-olds. I remember when I was 21. I thought I knew it all. I was a dumb shit. Up until about 24, 25, and then I started to realize a little more. And even now, at the age of 31, I'm still not convinced I know even a fraction of everything there is to know in the world. But the difference is I think I've solidified my values and I solidified my personality. And I can definitely say the age of 25, you get far more mature and you start to realize the grand scheme of things, the grand narrative of the world. And when you're 21, you're just 21. You're a high schooler who's legally allowed to drink is what a 21-year-old is.
Or she's too young. She can't possibly know her mind.
Dating. Oh, this would be an interesting one.
Guys in my past have been like, oh, she'll make a great mom. This is perfect. It's been important to find someone who is interested in and cares about me for me and not what I can produce for him.
Like, I have Tinder.
Yes and no. We should all love each other for who we are, but like a guy is who wants kids is not going to be dating someone who's child free. That's simple. Like, he could love you for you, but he also wants to be a father. He wants to have children. So you could be the perfect partner for him in every other way, but if you don't want kids, he's not going to want you because he can find someone else who probably has a lot of your virtues, but also wants kids. So yes and no to what she's saying. We all should find someone who love us for us, but like you should accept the consequences of your choices.
And like, I'll see guys on there that are like maybe 10 years older than me and they're like looking to start a family. I'm like, that's probably the worst thing you could put in your bio because that's making every woman run away.
I want to start a family is making every woman run away from your dating profile? Like, what? I don't know. That's a bizarre one. Like, do you really think we've gotten to a point in society in which like women just don't want family, don't want commitment, don't want long-term relationships? They just want to, fuck and have fun? Do we really get to that point? And if so, god damn, that's not good. All right.
I mean, at least that's how I see it.
That's how you see it.
Nowadays,
That's how
dating-
you see it. That's fine.
New York City is really tough, and I don't go on more than like 3 or 4 dates with somebody. Not on purpose, just because, dating sucks.
Most people in general are going to want to have families because there's this gap between the age of like, so like you're in your 20s, it's nice to have a lot of fun, but like there's this point from like 30 to like 60, 30 years of your life, the majority of your, a big portion of your life where what are you going to do with your time? Now, for some people, they have businesses and real true passions. For a lot of other people, family is the true driving force of their life. So that's a huge portion of the population. You're just basically, you do not want, you're cutting out of the dating pool. They could be perfectly adequate, perfectly acceptable boyfriend, husband material, but because they want a family and you don't, you basically cut them out, which is okay. You accept that responsibility. But I would say the majority of men do want to be fathers because the majority of men don't have like careers where they can put all their focus into their career. Most men have jobs and they're just getting by. And some of them are getting by comfortably. And because they're getting by comfortably, they want to have a family. But that's where they're going to attribute the majority of the meaning in their life is in the family, not their job. Take me, for example. I have a job. I enjoy my job. It's a good job, and it pays pretty well. I'm not rich. I will never be rich, but I can be financially secure. But my job is certainly not the thing that drives me in my life. Family is.
But it hasn't come up. It hasn't become a deal breaker up to this point.
My partner and I were very serious in our relationship. Once we moved and bought a home, he and I had a discussion about whether we wanted children, and both of us agreed that we don't. I think he just agreed with my decision not to, more so than anything.
Oh, no. No. That is a relationship that's doomed. Her relationship is doomed. You can't go into a relationship with different goals. And you think, I'll be able to change his mind and she'll be able to change my mind or whatever that is. Don't do that. That's not good.
Because he respects whatever I decide to do with my
Well, he respects you, but like he has his own life too. He's not going to stay with you if he wants to be a parent.
body, so.
Oh my God. That is actually a selfish woman. If you know that he wants kids and you don't, you almost have an obligation to leave him. You really do. That's just like not fair to him. You don't convince people out of having kids because 20 years down the line, maybe he's happy with you, but he's looked back on his life and he's not fulfilled because he didn't get to do the one part of his life that perhaps he thought he was meant to do. Don't do that to people. God damn it. Just find people who want the same sort of thing. You want to find a partner who wants the same things out of life that you do. Don't try to convince people out of their like goals or wishes. No.
There are lots of other things that make a woman a woman. Caring and nurturing. I love teaching.
Yeah, caring and nurturing usually means a child.
And the passing on of like traditions and culture. And
I didn't hear enough from the 22-year-old. I really wanted to know what her reasoning was, and I didn't get it, so.
knowledge, all that stuff that goes with being a woman. But I don't have to have a child to do that.
Why can't women have that independence? Why can't women have all these careers or have these passions that are unhindered by any sort of extra responsibility?
They can. No one's stopping you from doing this, so why can't they? If you're talking about societal pressure, you even admit it comes from the women. Jesus.
Placed on them.
There's something about women who don't want kids that is, in a way, threatening in the same way a happily single.
I will say this. I'm not going to say that the people who don't want kids are selfish, but you have to understand that you've decided that you were going to live your life for you, which is nothing really inherently wrong with that. But like the people who are having kids are deciding that they're going to live their life for another. It's inherently selfless in comparison. And the people who say, I'm going to live my life for me is selfish by comparison. Not that you're selfish. You probably could be a very giving person, a very kind, considerate person, compassionate even. But if we're going to compare two groups, one people want kids, one people don't. The people who want kids want to live their life for their kids. The people who don't want kids want to live their lives for themselves. It's just it's an either-or situation. One is more selfish than the other. Doesn't mean you're selfish necessarily, but it is by definition more selfish.
A woman is threatening.
You want to have kids? That's fine.
Yeah.
I need you to respect my life choice not to have kids.
Agreed.
It's a two-way street.
And women aren't allowed to necessarily make decisions in a very confident way. You're supposed to just follow a script. And I
No. If you feel that pressure that someone is forcing you to do something, those aren't really good friends. They should respect your choices. I want to make that very clear for this video response. I'm not saying any of these women are wrong in their decision to basically not have kids. It may sound that way because I feel like in general people get more meaning out of family than they do out of careers or other passions. But every individual has a right to choose for themselves what they want out of their life. But you accept the consequences of that. If you regret it 20 years down the line, okay. You don't get to be bitter and resentful of the world because you made a mistake. You have to look at yourself and basically evaluate yourself. The blame is always on you. You're in control of your own life. There's things that can happen to you. Not full control, but you are control over your choices.
I think because women who have chosen to be childless aren't following that script, it makes people really uncomfortable.
There's no one way to be a woman.
Right.
We all just want the best for ourselves. So
There's a lot of women who don't.
let's all accept that.
All right. So that was the Guardian's presentation of Child Free, 5 women that have decided not to have kids. I found most of their rationale perfectly reasonable. Nothing was like... There are the child-free people who won't have kids because of the climate crisis. Those people are the irreasonable ones. I would probably not like talking with them very much. None of these women had any objections I could disagree with. It's they have a gut feeling or maybe a personal choice that they just would rather focus on other things in life other than being a parent. There's nothing wrong with that, inherently. I would think... I don't think they're advocating it. That's the one thing I will actually most agree with them is that I didn't hear a lot of advocating for child-free. I heard them explaining their own reasoning as to why they're child-free. And that's how it should be. Because I think there is certain moral things in society that we should advocate for. So when they felt the pushback from people, why aren't you having kids? Why don't you want to be a parent? I think that is because society does need certain moral standards, and one of those moral standards is we should have a duty to reproduce, almost. Because we've inherited this good society, we should have almost a duty to be able to gift it to a next generation. Because basically, for instance, like if you just basically live your whole life for yourself and you collect Social Security, you know the people paying your Social Security are other people's kids. It's true. Because like this idea that you're paying Social Security and that's just this bank that like you're holding on to your whole life. It's not. The Social Security dollars that you're paying right now are going to pay for the elderly. When you get elderly, the Social Security dollars that you're receiving are coming from the young people. So you're actually reaping the benefits of other people deciding to have kids. So there should be certain things that are moral to do that we should encourage. So if you get pushback, you should... It's not like they're bad people for pushing back on you. I think that you should just be able to explain yourself and be firm in your decision. If there's any sort of like if it devolves into a angry argument, then someone there doesn't feel fully confident in their decisions, and they're just sort of projecting that. Really, you should just be fully like anyone who's truly confident in their decisions has nothing to explain to others. I've talked about this with my own wife, like the idea like she wanted to change careers and she was trying to convince everyone else that it was the right thing to do. And her own grandmother told her, are you trying to convince me or yourself? Or something like that. And that's honest to God true, is the only person you have to convince of your decision is you. And after that, you should never get irate or upset when someone questions you because you're convinced. So they can question you and you can answer them. Just answer them. Don't get upset by the fact that they're asking questions because maybe they're curious. Maybe they do think you're doing the wrong thing. If they think you're doing the wrong thing, fine. Let them think that. That's what they're in control of. All you're in control of is you. So you can explain or you don't have to explain, really. So if someone comes to you and says, why aren't you having kids? How dare you not have kids? Just say to them, it's my decision. I made it. You can give them the explanation or you don't have to give them the explanation because you don't owe anyone an explanation, really. I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy the back and forth. A lot of other people will probably just say, like, just leave me alone. Okay? So it shouldn't devolve into an argument, hopefully. Well, that was an interesting video. I find the topic of child free very interesting. Maybe I'll be able to discuss it with Tina in a later podcast. All right. For Tina and Karen, do the tube. I am Karen, and stay safe, everyone, and stay hydrated. Love you.